friends, it's me again, and I'm here with our storybook to read chapter 2 of the story called Sisterhood is the Strongest Magic, All Hail the Queen, with me and Anna. Well, we read chapter 1 last week, and I'm so excited to read chapter 2 with you guys. I'm not sure what happens next. Just kidding, I was kind of there, but it's very exciting for me to go over it. I hope you all enjoy. All right, chapter 2. Florian's famous Flangendorfers. That's a very hard word to say. I think you guys should try it, but good luck. Florian's famous Flangendorfers was more than just a bakery. It was a dessert lover's dream. From the outside, it looked like a gingerbread house. The roof seemed to be made of gumdrops. The front door was painted in a red and white peppermint swirl. I had never seen anything like it, and I quite loved it. The shop itself looked good enough to eat. Inside, the bakery was bright and airy. Beautiful glass display cabinets lined the walls. One cabinet was full of gooey toffees and sticky taffies. Another displayed row after row of chocolate bonbons. Florian's candies looked delicious, but he was really known for his pastries. The buttery croissants, creamy cream puffs, sugary crumb cake, and heavenly cakes were kept at the bakery counter at the rear of the shop. My sister and I drifted towards the counter, where we were pulled in by the mouth-watering scent of freshly baked pies. "Ahem," said a voice. Anna and I looked up from the pastries. A tall, thin man stood before us. He had a long, narrow face and wore a crisp white chef's coat. A black beret sat on top of his head. Do you know what a beret is? It's kind of like what they wear. My friend Belle has a lot of friends who wear berets. It's a little French hat. The man swept forward to greet them. "My queen, allow me to introduce myself," he said. "Chef Florian, at your service." Chef Florian bowed and kissed the back of my hand. I jumped in surprise. I hadn't expected his dramatic manner. I gave Anna a look that said, "This Flangendorfer better be good." Anna smiled sheepishly. She took hands with the Chef Florian, but pulled away before he could kiss her hand too. Chef Florian didn't seem to notice. He simply snapped his fingers. At the sound, 2 assistant bakers came from the back of the shop. They carried a fancy table with 2 chairs. The bakers set the table and chairs down between me and my sister. "Please sit," Florian said. He snapped again, and another assistant appeared. She held a large platter covered with a shiny silver dome. I glanced at the huge dome, and my eyes caught Anna's face across the table. She leaned forward and whispered, "Anna, what's a Flangendorfer again?" She shrugged and said, "I don't know, but I hear they're delicious." And I trusted her. But from the size of the platter, it looked like they had a lot of Flangendorfer ahead of us. "May I present to you the finest dessert in all of Arendelle," Chef Florian exclaimed. He removed the silver dome with a flourish. On the platter sat 2 towering pastries. Each Flangendorfer was made of 5 layers stacked on top of each other. The bottom and top layers were light, flaky pastry. The middle layers were made of fruit, chocolate, and cream. The whole dessert drizzled with honey. Then it was dusted with powdered sugar. I gasped, amazed. I picked up my spoon and was so ready to eat. One bite was all it took to convince me. Chef Florian is a genius. I could tell that Anna had the same thought. Here was everything I loved, all in one dessert. The bakery grew quiet. The only sound was the clattering of spoons against plates. When we finished eating, we relaxed in our seats. Our bellies were quite full, so we smiled contently. "Who wants seconds?" Chef Florian asked. "That was wonderful," I said, "but I don't think I could eat another bite." Anna opened her mouth to agree, but it wasn't words that came out. Instead, she gave a long, loud belch. Princess-like. Chef Florian was stunned. He clearly hadn't been expecting that, especially from a princess. "Anna," I said, embarrassed. Anna shrugged apologetically. "Excuse me," she said. "I suppose you have to do what you gotta do." Then Florian began to chuckle. It started quietly at first, but the sound grew until it was a full-fledged laugh. "The best compliment a chef can get," he said to Anna. "Come, I'll show you the secrets of the Flangendorfer." Florian led us through a curtain behind the bakery counter. On the other side was an enormous kitchen. The kitchen was a blur of activity. Florian's assistants ran back and forth in a swirl of flour dust. They rolled dough, melted chocolate, and piped icing onto delicious treats. My family has been making Flangendorfers for years, Florian said proudly. This dessert was invented by my great uncle a long time ago. How did he come up with it? I asked. An excellent question, Florian said, but the answer is a mystery. Some say he got the recipe from trolls. I remembered the trolls. I knew they knew a great deal of magic. But I'd never thought of them as pastry people. I think he just put all the best sweet stuff together and bam, a Flangendorfer, Anna said. I wouldn't be surprised, Florian replied. Great Uncle Klaus loved to eat. The pastry chef took us over to a nearby table. In the middle was a large mound of dough. Florian divided the dough in half, giving one part to me and one part to my sister. This is our special Flangendorfer dough, he explained. I will teach you how to roll it flat. Anna pushed up her sleeves confidently. She'd baked cookies in the palace kitchens many times. Piece of cake, she said breezily. Florian shot her a warning look. When it came to baking, he was all business. Flangendorfer? I meant piece of Flangendorfer, Anna said seriously. She stood up straight. Florian turned his attention to the dough. First, you must remember to be very quiet, he whispered. Quiet? Why? Anna blurted out. She's not very great at being a whisperer. Shh, Florian hissed. The dough was very sensitive. Is it? I asked. Anna looked at me, and we smothered a giggle. Yes, the dough is like a fiery princess. You must not make her angry, he exclaimed. He was calling his dough a she. We were curious. You must speak gently to her, with your fingers. Florian wiggled his flour-covered fingers in the air. He curled one hand into a fist and punched the dough flat. Have any of you ever beat dough before? That doesn't look very gentle, Anna whispered to me. I did my best not to laugh, but Anna was making it difficult, as she usually does. Instead, I focused on Florian's instructions. I punched my dough and pressed it flat with my fingertips. The finicky pastry chef inspected my work. I was quite nervous. But when he was satisfied, he handed me a rolling pin. Anna's dough was giving her trouble. It stuck to her fingers like a gluey ball. Luckily, Florian didn't notice. He stepped away to check on a batch of cream puffs. Yum. I think she's angry with me, Anna said softly. Who? I whispered. The fiery princess dough, Anna replied. She stuck to my fingers. Anna shook her hands desperately, but the dough didn't budge. Maybe you should apologize to her, I teased. What? Anna laughed. Shh, I replied. You heard Chef Florian. He told us to whisper. Here's a little picture of Anna's dough. Anna sighed in frustration. She wiped one sticky hand against the front of her dress, but that only made things worse. Now I'm stuck, she whispered to me, trying to tug her hand away from the dough. I calmly scooped some extra flour into her hands. I sprinkled the flour on Anna's dough, hoping to make it less sticky. Unfortunately, the flour tickled Anna's nose. Achoo! A gust of flour dust rose into the air when she sneezed. It settled in her hair and on her eyelashes, like a fine coating of snow. Anna reached for a towel to wipe her face, but accidentally backed into a shelf of pots. The shelf toppled, sending pots and pans clattering to the ground with a loud crash. One pot fell into a giant bowl of batter being mixed by an assistant. A big blob splashed out of the bowl, sailed across the kitchen, and landed right on top of the lantern. The flame went out. Chef Florian peered angrily through the dark. He spotted Anna at the center of the commotion. Anna grinned guiltily. In the silence that followed, she nervously licked the dough from her fingers. Florian huffed and folded his arms across his chest. Anna tried to open her mouth to apologize, but again, no words came out. Oomph, Anna mumbled urgently. Oomph. All the chefs and assistants stared at Anna dumbfounded, but then I realized Anna had eaten so much dough that her lips were stuck together. That night, Anna was sitting at the end of my bed in her pajamas. Her list of things to do in Arendelle was spread out across her lap. I can't wait for number 4 tomorrow, she exclaimed. Wasn't number 3 enough? I asked wearily. So I made a little mess in Chef Florian's kitchen, she said with a shrug. Everything turned out okay in the end. I laughed. She was right. Somehow everything had turned out okay. Even though Anna had brought the whole kitchen to a halt, Chef Florian couldn't stay angry at her. Who could? He laughed so hard that she was immediately back in his good graces. It was true, Anna definitely had a way with people. It was something I admired about her. I wondered if I would ever have that kind of relationship with my subjects. Without the mess, I hoped. Well, that was chapter 3, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have lots of fun today and for the rest of your week. I will see you next week with chapter 3. I'm so excited to talk with you again. Bye, everyone.